Growing up, my dad had an amazing VHS collection of all the classic 80s and 90s movies of the time. I distinctly remember our living room with 3 shelves along one wall. The top shelf was for rated R movies, the middle shelf for PG-13, and the bottom shelf was kids' movies. My dad also thought it was rad you could record movies onto blank VHS tapes. So this massive wall of VHS tapes was almost entirely made up of masking taped, handwritten labels. During some point when DVDs became popular, we purged these tapes from our lives and moved on. Recently, I've felt the urge to collect some of my favorite movies from childhood on VHS so I can relive them again in their most nostalgic format. I've approached building this collection with 3 criteria in mind. Watchability, how good the movie is even upon repeated viewings. Period correctness, movies that came out clearly in the heyday of VHS rentals and video stores, usually pre-1997. And box art, since my dad recorded everything to blank tapes, we never had any box art for any of these movies, so I'm factoring in the shelf recognition. I scoured eBay for most of these classic titles and ended up with more than I started out searching for. Let's take a look. Also, let me just say I never thought I'd be doing an unboxing video of any kind, but here we go. First movie up is Clueless. Sex, clothes, popularity, whatever. This is a great comedy. No VHS collection is complete without this. I wasn't expecting Clueless to be the first one that was open, but I'm happy to have it. Me and my sister probably watched this movie 1,000 times. Great comedy. Dealt with a lot of interesting issues at a time where ska remained king. Next up is, What About Bob? Another insanely funny comedy, Bill Murray. The critics called it howlingly funny. This one's, the white of the case is pretty yellowed, but still in overall good condition. Touchstone home video. I'm loving how everyone wrapped each one of these individually from all the people I ordered from eBay. Some are wrapped with great care, which is much appreciated. Next one is Willow. I love this movie so much. I've probably watched this 1,000 times as well. Ever since I was a kid, probably watched it once a year at least, even to this day. 130 minutes, 1988 for this one, starring Val Kilmer. Surprised Warwick Davis isn't, he's third billed on this. Interesting. Story by George Lucas, that's important. Just don't let him direct. Some of these are wrapped better than others. It's like a fortress to get into this. Big Trouble in Little China. This is a cult classic. My dad made me watch this when I was a kid, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. You know, monsters, magic, ninjas, lightning bolts coming out of people's eyes. This says High Adventure in an Underground Kingdom, 1987, CBS Home Video. Such a cool cover, such cool artwork. You can actually buy that tank top that Kurt Russell wears on the cover. You can find them on, I actually think you can even find them on Amazon now, but they used to be able to find them on, people would make them on Etsy. Ghostbusters, 5th in the collection here that we're unboxing today. Yeah, I never had this in the case. It's so clean. It's just the the no ghost logo. It's fantastic. This one's in really good shape too. 105 minutes. Can't see the date immediately on this one. I should know this, but Columbia TriStar home video. I bet if you pop this one in, this would have the winged Pegasus running at you in the opening credits. I might do another video where I actually pop each one of these in one by one and hit play on the VCR just to kind of find out where people left off. Because it'd be really interesting to see, you know, if these were actually rewound, if they were stopped in the middle of the tape, at what scene they were stopped at, or if they made it all the way to the credits at the end. So I'm going to reorganize these really quickly here just so they're more in order, because we're going to be adding a lot more to this list going forward. That's better. My preciouses all in a row. Okay, next up, this one should be easy to open. Plastic wrap. More plastic wrap. Back to the Future. And I should point out, in this collection I'm putting together, I'm not trying to put together sequels. I like Back to the Future 2 better than Back to the Future, just because you actually get to go to the future, not just the present and the past. So I'm kind of trying to at least start with the originals, and then I'll add sequels and triquels after that. This says 94 copyright on the back. That cannot be right. This was not released in 94. So maybe this is not the original VHS case that I've acquired here. Ooh, it's a yellow case. I've noticed that a lot of comedies were released in yellow box art, but Friday, this is probably one of the most quotable movies I've watched growing up. It's great to have this in the collection. New Line home video. 91 minutes. That's a quick watch. This is like pristine condition except for a couple of wrinkles in the box. Looks really good. Let's see what we have here. Probably the most anticipated like home video release of my wonder years is Jurassic Park. I was completely blown away when I saw this movie in the theater for the first time. 1993, Universal City Studios. An adventure 65 million years in the making. I'm really glad to have this. Kind of like the Ghostbusters case, just the single logo that they designed for the film on the front is like some of the cleanest box art with that Jurassic Park font. So cool. I walked out of the theater thinking that I was going to clone dinosaurs for a living for the rest of my life. I was certain I was going to become a paleontologist who injected frog DNA into all kinds of eggs to create a number of dinosaurs all across my backyard, at least. Roger Rabbit. This, I remembered this case because my cousins had it at their house. It was so cool to see it in the case. We'd go over there. My cousin Joseph would watch Shirley Temple videos along with Roger Rabbit. So every time the cousins got together, we would all pop this in and we would laugh our asses off. You know, now being a father, I guess it's interesting to go back and watch these when, you know, 80s PG would really be like PG-13 nowadays, with some of the language and references that they slipped into films. It doesn't bother me at all, but It's just interesting. Die Hard. Die Hard is one of the top shelf movies I mentioned earlier, where all the rated R ones were on the top shelf, and I wasn't allowed to watch them when I was like 7 or 8. But around the time I became 12, we still had this collection, so I kind of got to watch this later in life. But definitely a classic. I can't say it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I do think it's important, and I think if I'm putting a collection together to for myself to be happy and for others to enjoy as well, Die Hard's got to be in there. Let's see what we have next up here. Cut into this package. Robocop. Part man, part machine, all cop. It says the future of law enforcement. Well, we don't. Well, I guess NYPD did get Spot the Robot out on the streets, I think. So we do have robotic police officers. 1987. I remember this was one of the big boy movies, the top shelf rated R movies I was allowed to watch. It was riddled with violence and terrible language, and I think maybe a little bit of nudity, but for some reason my dad thought this was an important film that his son needed to see, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so this one needs a little bit of an explanation. I did not see this movie until 2018. This is Chungking Express, and unfortunately, this came to the United States via Quentin Tarantino seeing it or knowing the director and his other films and being a big fan of it. So that's why the box is branded with Quentin Tarantino. But I've actually, this movie takes place in the Chungking Mansions in Hong Kong, which I've actually visited before. But this movie is the correct time period. It doesn't hit that nostalgia factor for me, although the movie itself has a super nostalgic vibe. But this is just something that needs to be experienced on VHS. So that's why Chungking Express is on my list. Okay. I think we're going to go all the way to 60 miles an hour for this one. 50 miles an hour, sorry. It says it on the back. Speed. There is a Vice article about a man who is obsessed with VHS copies of Speed and owns over 500 of them, 550 of them to be exact. Also, he owns about 15 copies of Speed on Laserdisc. I'm not sure why he collects them, but why do we all collect anything? So more power to him. But I got one, so, it's mine. Speed was 1994. Damn, it feels like that was earlier than that. Maybe right around there. This one is a bit of a pain. What do we have here? Innerspace. I don't know if many of you know this movie, but it is fantastic. Um, Dennis Quaid gets miniaturized and injected into Martin Short's body. This movie is got some really cool visual effects in it for the time. All the like microcosm stuff they do inside the body is really really cool. Great, great 80s film. 87 Warner Brothers. I highly recommend Innerspace. Oh, and then my favorite, Tremors. Tremors is my all-time favorite monster slash horror movie. I don't know why. I think it just resonated with me. It seems so simple, you know. Don't touch the ground. It's like an entire game of the floor is lava. I can so clearly see the scene where they're like jumping from rock to rock using pole vaulting sticks in the desert to try not to cause vibrations on the ground. Um, Great chemistry between the two lead actors, all around great cast. You have what's his name from Big Trouble in Little China, Egg playing a character in this movie who actually names the Tremors graboids. It's fantastic. Oh well, that's embarrassing. In my fury to buy up all my favorite VHS tapes off of eBay, I acquired 2 copies of Robocop. That's embarrassing. That one looked a little sun faded, so maybe I'll have a better display case for the other one. I think I know what this is because I think I remember the name of the person who mailed it to me when I bought it on eBay, but this one might be... Yeah, I think it is. Hackers. Uh, this movie was hugely influential in my life. I remember seeing this in the theater when it came out, and I was just obsessed. I walked out of there certain that I was going to become a hacker, be a cool rollerblading hacker for the rest of my life. This movie defined who I was when I was, oh, I don't even know, 12 years old or something, maybe even younger. Um, the best cyber film of the year, and on the back, succeeds at just about everything the net failed to. They were throwing major shade having 2 hacking cyber films come out in 1 year. This is one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. This is 1996 for Hackers, but this feels so much earlier. $1995 United Artists is what that said. Next one on the list here, The Fly. This was one I never had the box art for. I remember seeing this in video stores and not knowing what it was. It wasn't because I couldn't see the cover art. I never chose to watch this off of one of my dad's blank tape recordings. But I would always see this in the horror section of our independent video store we used to go to. Finally watched it years later and was kind of blown away. Awesome practical effects, really kind of gross body morphing Cronenberg stuff. Got a much bigger box on this next one. I wonder if this is the double take. Okay, so Short Circuit 1 and 2. I had this long history of seeing sequels before I saw the originals in a lot of cases, and Short Circuit 2 I saw before Short Circuit, I believe. Short Circuit 2 is by far my favorite, but when I went to go buy it, I think for a similar price, there was a seller selling both, so I went ahead and got both tapes. I love Johnny Five. The robot design is so cool. Still kind of holds up today in a way. Yeah, Johnny Five needs input. The adventures of America's most electric leading man continue. That's pretty special. 1988 for Short Circuit 2. See, I would have pegged this as being more into the 90s, just because of the costuming. Twister. So I think I just opened a box that's got. I bought a lot. So somebody was selling their entire collection, and I picked 20 for 20 or something like that. But Twister's fantastic, incredibly quotable movie. Just one of those ones that we had on VHS and just watched kind of over and over again. Um, Super fun. Kind of started the natural disaster films and Demolition Man. I love any movie that shows either a utopian or dystopian view of the future from the 80s. Um, yeah, Demolition Man. Turning on lights with voice activation. If only we could do that now. Taco Bell was the only the only restaurant to survive the franchise wars. I love that. Predator. No collection would be complete without Predator. Amazing visual effects. Early Arnold film. Just a bunch of action stars in this movie. Carl Weathers, I believe. This is like practically brand new, except for a little bit of a rip on the cover. This box looks pristine. These people who hoarded their collections in their basements did a really good job. This copy of The Net, I mean, Sandra Bullock ordering a pizza on the internet was the coolest thing I had ever seen. I'm not sure if I saw, I think I saw Hackers before I saw The Net. But there was no e-commerce really happening in Hackers. It was just hacking, and Hackers. The Net was like a totally different, more realistic take, I think, in some ways. Um, but Sandra Bullock. This one is wrapped in plastic. That's amazing. Caddyshack, classic comedy. Um, Not much to say about this one. It's just got to be part of the collection. Same with Alien. There's no getting around it. This was another top shelf movie, rated R when I was a kid, that I was allowed to see. Scared the crap out of me. Batman '89. This movie was a powerhouse. I remember my family moved from Illinois to Florida when I was 7 years old. So in '89, it was just anything and everything anyone talked about. I remember a friend of mine had the Batman action figure that was released along with this movie with the retractable belt with the grappling hook, and I was just blown away. And I'd consider this one a little bit of a deep cut. Congo. I really love this movie. I had to have it. We had a copy, and I probably watched it, 20 times. Amy the Talking Gorilla, and them just battling these kind of like crazy zombie gorillas in the middle of the jungle was pretty cool to see. It always made me terrified of sleeping in a tent. I always wanted their laser system. And Crocodile Dundee. This is a great comedy. Saw this very early on and forgot about it for many years, and then circled back and watched it recently, probably a few months ago. This one's in really good shape. 2001: A Space Odyssey. I saw this when I was a kid, and I didn't understand it at all. I thought it was slow and boring. It didn't mean anything to me. It wasn't many, many years later, I think. I read the books when I was in high school, and then I circled back and watched this movie in college and really got the meaning of it and kind of like um, understood the movie a lot better. Dances with Wolves. This is just an incredible movie. I think it won like what's it say, 7 Academy Awards the year it came out. Kevin Costner vehicle. When I was a really little kid, we grew up in Illinois, and learning about Native American culture was just part of what every kid in school did. So I was really um, into Native American lifestyle and Native American culture. So when I saw this movie, and somebody going to live with a Native American tribe, I thought it was really, really cool. I'll pair these together. Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura. Which is your favorite? I have an argument going with my friends that Dumb and Dumber is funnier than Ace Ventura. I saw Ace Ventura first, but I feel like Dumb and Dumber just has more laughs in it. You have two main characters instead of one. All the stuff they do is so hilarious. Goodfellas, another one for the list. I don't think you're gonna find a better gangster movie than this. Um, Boy, they just keep coming. Probably not even gonna get to all of these. Forrest Gump. I'd say after Jurassic Park, Forrest Gump for me was the next most anticipated um, VHS release or video release. I saw this movie in the theater. We saw a double feature that day because the first showing of Forrest Gump was sold out. I remember during some of the more awkward scenes with my parents, they had to like talk to me about it afterwards. Um, but I had just never seen such a like exciting, eclectic movie. So, well, there you have pretty much everything unboxed. Um, I know I'm missing a couple on here, and I think even after this video was made, I got a couple more in the mail, so I know I have Jaws coming on the way, and I also got a copy of Michael Jackson Moonwalker, which I saw when I was a kid and was blown away. That Michael Jackson was starring in a movie and made a movie combining music videos. So I think there's a couple more to add to the collection, but I'd really love to hear from anyone who's still watching this video this long. Um, comment down below and let me know what your favorites are. What am I missing? What ones are on my list that you would totally get rid of? Especially if you only had to pare it down to say like 20. That's really hard. I tried making a list of 20 and I could only get it to 25. Um, there's just some you have to have in that collection. So, yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching.